good morning, and welcome back to another edition of The Shift. So, we say good morning to the leader in you. I am Catherine E. Trotter, your host, and we have a phenomenal guest with us on today. I had the privilege of reading and learning about our guest, and I tell you, anybody that's watching right now, you're going to want to hit the share button because a lot of the information that's going to be shared on today will not only impact your life, but it can impact the life of another. So let me introduce our guest for today. We have Miss Lesa Frye. She is a certified life and business coach. And one of the intriguing things that I noticed on her website, it says that she's a business coach for women in real estate, and she is the founder of Embrace Joyful Living Coaching, where she helps experienced women create sustainable success without burnout. And with that being said, Miss Lesa, welcome to the shift.
Thank you so much, Catherine, for having me. I am excited to be here and to speak to you and your audience. And yeah, just thanks for
Absolutely.
having me.
I think it's so amazing with everything that you've done. And for those that are just learning about Miss Lesa, we're going to make sure we drop her website at the end so you can take a deeper dive into learning about her. But I saw something on your website, and it talked about in your beginning phases of you in the real estate industry. It says, in my first full year as a realtor, I sold 41 homes and was the top producing agent in my office. That was over 50 agents. For over 30 years, your bio goes on to say, I continue to excel as a top producing agent, receiving various sales and service awards. Now, that's amazing, but I think it's something that I read on their site that really gives you the power to do this. So talk about your beginning phases in the real estate industry. Let everyone know, who is Miss Lesa.
Okay, great. So when I introduce myself, I actually introduce myself as a wife, mom, grandma, and business owner for over 3 decades.
Mm,
Family is and always has been my priority. And so that's the role that I'm most honored by.
mhm,
In my journey to real estate actually started over 35 years ago. I was in corporate America, and I had reached the ceiling in the position that I was in. And at the time, my girls were 2 and 6, and I really wanted to be more present for them. And so I was looking for something where I had flexibility in my schedule, where I controlled my income, and something that I enjoy doing. And real estate was my answer. And so I got my real estate license. I worked as what we call a dual career agent for about a year and a half. So that means that I worked real estate part time and kept my full time job until I got some business building. And after that year and a half, I took the leap of faith. And as my bio says, yes, I sold 41 homes that very first year full time. The success was amazing. I set the goal, I hit the goal. And then I quickly realized that, or at least I felt like I had missed a year
mm,
of my family's life. And that was not my definition of success.
mhm.
And so, again, early on, I realized I've got to do this differently. And that's where my current philosophy of building a sustainable, profitable business without burnout comes
Mhm.
from.
Yeah,
Um, you can have a highly successful business and a life that you love. And
absolutely.
so that's how I got started in real estate. From there, I was having the nudge, like I was called to do something else, but I just wasn't sure what that was. And so, literally, I was praying for clarity. In the middle of the night, I got the God whisper. And
Mhm,
I tell everyone, I say God whisper, but
mhm,
God and I have an agreement that He can't whisper to me, like it has to be a knock over the head, basically.
mhm,
And the God whisper said to become a coach.
mm,
And now in business, I've always had a coach. Like for
mhm,
over 25 years, I've had a coach myself. At the time, the whisper I heard was to become a health coach.
mm,
I'd never heard of a health coach. So I got up, I Googled it, I found that there was such a thing. And the next day, I signed up for the course to get my health coaching certification. And Health Coach Institute also offered a life coaching certification. So I got my life coaching certification. I got the master certification in the transformational coaching method. And I realized it wasn't the physical health, it was the mental health.
Mm.
It was, what are the thoughts going on inside of your head that are creating the results? And so that's how my coaching career got started.
No, and I'm so grateful that you took us on the journey, and you started with the foundation, which was family, is family. And that's the cornerstone. And I love that you shared that, because a lot of times, we can be business owners and we can be thriving, we can be moving, but the sense of connectivity with family sometimes is absent or missing, or it's imbalanced. And even just
Right.
hearing you talk, you have a rhythm in how you share. It's so peaceful, actually. So I'm not
Thank
shocked
you.
that you are a certified life coach. Um, and then you started talking about, okay, yeah, that first year I did knock it out the park with the 41, but then you said you had to take a step back and you had to analyze what happened, even though you went hard and you made those goals happen. But
Right.
you shared that you felt it was a little bit of a disconnect with the family. Talk about
Right.
two things. Talk about goal setting, and when you do set that goal, how do you keep yourself motivated to hit it? But then talk about, while you're setting that goal, to make sure other things are not thrown off.
Yes. So when we're goal setting, it's always first looking at and asking yourself the question, what do I want? Okay. Not what does the business want, not does what everyone else want, but what is it that I want? So that's the first step. And I always tell people to ask yourself, what's important to you? What are your values? And then make sure that that calendar, because the calendar does not lie, make sure that calendar is in alignment with what it is you say you want to achieve. So for instance, I say family is a value for me. If I look at my calendar, am I seeing space in my calendar for my family, for the things that I enjoy, or is it full of just business appointments?
Mm.
So that's, to me, that's the first step in goal setting, is really asking yourself, what is it that you want?
Yeah.
And what was the other?
Yeah, and then the other one, as you're goal setting and then you're striving towards that, you want to make sure that other things in your life is not in balance, which you kind of answer, because you said when you're
Okay.
looking at the calendar, if you see your calendar is full with just business appointments, but the thing that you value the most, and in this conversation is family, if that's not filtered on that calendar, then that creates that imbalance. So you kind of did a 2-for-1 answer.
Oh, okay. Great.
Yes. And then, I thought was another thing that I noticed on your site when I was reading your bio, and this stood out to me. It said, Miss Lesa is valuable because she is a rare blend of wisdom, resilience, heart, and lived experience. The kind that
Mm.
can't be taught in a classroom, downloaded from a course, or faked on social media. When I read that, that struck me so deeply, because I think, we for education, but that lived experience, we can't shortchange that.
Right.
Talk
Right.
about that in terms of what you offer and bring to the community, to women and business owners, because of your lived experiences.
So, so I've been on this earth for 62 years. So there is a lot of lived experience, and I've been working since I was 15 years old.
Mhm.
Okay. So lots of years, lots of experiences, and particularly my ideal client is that experienced woman in real estate.
Mhm.
I, I am her. I was her. I know the hustle culture that is taught in the real estate industry. I've lived it. And I've also escaped that hustle culture and built a sustainable, profitable business without working 24/7, without being available all the time. One of the first things I did was establish, what are my office hours?
Mhm.
So setting those boundaries. And when people think of real estate in particular, they believe that agents work on Saturdays and Sundays, like they're available when everyone else is off from work. yes, we are flexible in that respect, and we have families as well. And so I set the boundary that Sundays are for my family, and I work within that time frame. I also enjoy having Friday
Mm-hmm.
as a me day.
Mm-hmm.
And when you communicate your schedule to your clients, they respect that because we teach people how to treat us.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of the lived experience because I've actually been in real estate for 35 years myself. I know it. I know it like the back of my hand. I've
Mm-hmm.
been through all of the markets, you know,
Mm-hmm.
the ups, the downs, the crashes, all of that, and still had a sustainable business because of the relationships that I built, because that's a big part of it
Yeah.
as well.
And I want you to talk about that and dive into it because I think this connects to the show itself, the shift. And I saw something on your website and it says Lesa stayed adaptable when the world shifted, creative when business changed, and courageous when life required a new version of her. So you shifted, and this show is called The Shift. Talk about the things that you've seen in your industry and how you maintained yourself and was adaptable.
So again, it did start with building relationships from the start. When I started in the real estate business, I let everyone I knew know that I'm a realtor. And so my first transactions were referred to me. And then, of course, you know, I've built the other pillars within the business as well. But I used to tell my clients, and I do the same thing in my coaching business. Once you have me as your realtor, once you have me as your coach, like I'm your realtor, I'm your coach for life. And I meant that. And so I stayed in touch with people even after the transaction and continue to just strengthen and nurture those relationships.
Well, you know, and talking about strengthening relationships, when you're talking about building a business, you have to have a network around you. Now, when you first started, because your history didn't start in real estate, so how did you build up your network? And not glorifying the 41, but it was something to be said with that. You had to have some kind of touch points to manifest those type of sales.
Again, it started with, so we all have been here. Well, not everyone, but we've been here. Okay. And we've built relationships. So we have family, we have friends, and those people know people as well. So if you start with the people that you know and you let them know that you're in business, that you would appreciate their help, that's the start. Now, the other things that I did was, yes, I continued to build my network. I had to get out and meet people and tell them what I do and make offers to help them. So, in real estate in particular, what I remember, and of course, now I'm dating myself, but there used to be the Homes books, right? And so I used to advertise in the Homes book consistently every month, and people would see, you know, those advertisements and they would call. So that would be one way that I got business. I would reach out to people that were trying to sell their homes themselves, um, and just offer my services. And again, when people are trying to sell their homes themselves, they truly believe they can do it themselves, and sometimes they can, but most of the time they get frustrated. It's too much to handle, and because I've stayed in touch, they reach out to me. So it was every day being intentional about meeting people, about establishing that network. I also had a referral network of other agents from, even though I'm based in Maryland, if someone needed to buy a house in North Carolina, I had a connection of another agent in North Carolina that I could refer them to. And same thing in my coaching business. I've got, you know, my specialty is business coaching, helping you build that balanced life. But if someone needed financial coaching, I've got a coach connect there. If someone needed health coaching, I've got connections there. It's all about building the network
Mhm.
and
A couple of
establishing
things,
those relationships.
the network and relationships. A couple of things that I stealed from you. I like to call it golden nuggets. And even though in your beginning phases of your real estate industry, what I heard from you is that you put yourself out there, though. You wasn't afraid
Yes.
to make the call, because in business, just taking it back to the basics, we know we're in a digital age, social media, AI, and all of that, but you got to pick
Yes.
up the phone and make the call.
Personal. It's still the personal connection.
Mm-hmm.
The social media is wonderful. It's amazing. We can reach more people
Mm-hmm.
faster, but you still want to take that offline and actually connect human to human, because in this digital age, like as humans, we are craving community and connection. And
Mm-hmm.
so when you're building a business, you want to be that connector. You
Mm-hmm.
want to be that community establisher.
Yeah.
And I just think that's so important no matter what business you're in.
Absolutely. And so, for those that are tuned in, you are tuned into the shift. We are engaging in a conversation with Miss Lesa. We have a lot more to cover. For those of you that are listening, we want you to do one thing. We want you to hit the share button, share this message with your network. Perhaps it's someone in the real estate industry or just in business in general that needs to learn some strategies around having that balance life with work in their business and family and so forth, whatever they value. And this is what I'm hearing from Miss Lesa. You dictate what that value space is in your life. And then you said
Yes.
something else, your calendar should match it, right?
Yes.
Your calendar should match it. And so I love diving into someone's bio. So the other things that I saw on your website, and I want to go back to this, it says a blend of aligned goal setting. Let's talk about aligned goal setting, because we can do goal setting, but what is
Mhm.
aligned goal setting?
So, one of the pillars in the framework that I coach on is align with your inner CEO.
Mhm.
And what I mean about that is, again, going back to asking yourself the question, what do I want? Not just from business, but what do I want from my life?
Mhm.
And so when you know that, and when you're connected to the why behind that, then goal setting becomes easier. Goal setting becomes more intentional.
Mhm.
So, yes, you might have the goal to earn, say, 10,000 a month. Okay, that's great. Why? What is that income going to do for you? And even in doing that, like you want to keep asking yourself why, what's important about that for you. Like ask yourself, I say go 5 layers deep. And when you do that, you'll get to the core of why is it that I really want this goal? And when you have that connection, on those days where you don't feel like showing up, or those days where the world is just knocking you down, you're going to continue. The motivation's going to stay there because you know why you're doing this.
And, and
So,
and it's the why that is kind of like the when that song, the wind beneath your feet or something. It's the
yeah.
why that keeps that motivation going. And again, on your site it says you help clients step into their inner CEO. I thought that was absolutely powerful, so they can grow their income, protect their energy, and create sustainable success without sacrificing themselves. Talk a little bit about protecting the energy, because when you're a business owner,
Mm,
are exposed. I mean, you can't be a business owner in a corner somewhere in a cut. You have to put yourself out there in the public.
mhm.
Some may be an introvert, some may not be, but you're in the public's eye in some way.
Yes.
So then,
Yes.
in doing that, how do you protect your energy?
You protect your energy by it starts with awareness. As we work within our particular industries, we know when our energy is the highest, and we know when we are feeling a little bit like drained. Okay.
Mhm.
I know for me, the mornings are the times when I'm most productive. So the mornings are when I'm connecting with people, when
Mhm.
I'm making those calls, when I'm getting out and letting people know what I do. I know that by 6 o'clock, I'm pretty much I'm pretty much done. So
Mhm.
I'm you're not going to find me like having a coaching call probably that late. Sometimes maybe, but for the most part, in the evening is when I'm going to be doing the administrative type work, the things that don't require a
Mhm.
lot of energy. And
Yeah.
so the second pillar of my framework is learn to create that balance and boundaries. And that has to do with being aware of what your energy is, setting those boundaries for your business as far as what are the hours that I'm working, what are the hours and the days that I'm available. So energy, and I think a lot of people underestimate the power and the importance of your energy,
Yeah.
and unplugging and making sure that you re-energize, refocus, and recharge. Energy is everything. Our energy either attracts people to us or it repels. And
Mm.
so we want to make sure that we are in the energy of attracting and serving.
Absolutely. And I thank you for sharing that. One of the things that I love to do is to go on walks. Like it
Yes.
could, even if it's not a botanical garden, sometimes just walking in the neighborhood. But I love botanical gardens or anything like that. I know in DC they have like this bonsai exhibit. Um,
Yes.
you know what I'm talking about? And so for those that's listening and watching and that's going to be sharing this, think about what helps you unplug. What is that thing that helps you get re-energized? Because if you're constantly, building your business, you're in the face of people, you're engaging, as Miss Lisa shared, they're going to pick up your energy, right?
Mhm.
But I want us to also talk about, and I want you to share from your viewpoint. You've been in business well over 30 years in this specific industry in real estate, so it's still transferable knowledge that you can share to anyone, even if they're not in real estate. What are, I guess you can say, 2 to 3 tips you can share about how you have maintained the test of time for over 30 years in your industry?
And I feel like I'm probably repeating myself, but that's okay. Um, Again, it starts with asking yourself the question, what is it that I want?
Go back to the why.
And and it's not about the selfish, what is it I want, okay? It's just as women, we tend to always put everyone else before ourselves. And so we need to come back to ourselves. Who was who was Lisa before life got busy? Before all of the different roles came into to play? What did she enjoy? What brought her happiness? So come back to that. So that's one tip. Um, Another tip is do it messy. Like,
Mm,
don't wait until you're fearless.
mm,
Take messy action.
mm,
Confidence doesn't come before you act.
mhm.
Confidence comes and builds as a result of you taking action. So
Mm.
that would be another piece of advice
No, I love
that, yeah, that I would give. And what's the third? There was a third piece of advice that I wanted to give.
it.
But it's ask what you want, take
Hmm.
the messy action,
Hmm.
be visible, and show up
Hmm.
in service. Show
Mm.
up in service. When we take the focus off of ourselves and
Mhm.
our fears and all of that, and we really look at how can I be in service to my client, to my customer,
Yeah.
then we don't worry about our own selves.
Yeah. No,
And,
I
and we
think that's
can really
beautiful.
impact.
And but I'm glad that you're being conscious about sticking to what that formula is, and it goes back to the why, it goes back to your values, because what I'm hearing, everything is centered around that. And if you don't have that core value system, you could be running a business, you can be building a business, you might be a great salesperson, you might be hitting the numbers, but there's going to still be some imbalance within self. So what I'm really taking away is center yourself with your core values. Everything else is wrapped around it.
Yes.
And then I saw on your site, it says Lisa is a woman of faith who leads with God at the center of her decisions, her work, and her calling. She's a wife, as you already mentioned, that's built a marriage anchored in love, friendship, and endurance. Talk a little bit about that for women that are married or desire to be married or have families. Talk about is there such thing of a balance?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Again, it starts with setting that time aside on your schedule, actually scheduling. Because if what I found is if it's not in the schedule, it doesn't get done.
Mhm.
Okay. I love spending time with my family. You will find me have most of the time. Well, now in coaching, my schedule's even more refined. I actually do have Saturdays and Sundays to myself. And so I'm with my family. I'm married to my high school sweetheart. We've been together for, oh my goodness, 44, 45 years.
It's a
Married
blessing.
for 39 of them. I have two grown daughters. I have two amazing grandchildren. Like, that's what lights me up. And so you absolutely can. I'm living proof that you can have a life that you love and a highly profitable, sustainable business.
And that's
So,
why I
and
asked
I,
that question, because you give hope. You give this whole interview is giving hope, is giving joy, is giving possibility. Because sometimes you can encounter, or you talk to different individuals and they can have this doomsday energy. And not saying that that's how they want to live, but I'm just
yeah,
so glad this is a refreshing conversation, that you're talking not only about business, because sometimes you can talk to a woman and it's business, but you don't hear the relational side of things, right?
right.
And
Hmm.
I am just grateful that you're sharing that, yes, it's all possible. It's all possible.
Yeah, it's it's your choice. It's
Hmm.
your intention. We can all say that, oh, I'm so busy. Oh, I'm so busy. But the bottom line is, it's your choice.
Hmm.
You get to choose how you live your life, for sure. And I did remember what that third piece of advice was. I don't know how I forgot it,
Hmm.
because this is like the biggest thing in
Hmm.
business. Make sure that you are investing in your mindset as much as your skill set.
Hmm.
Your skills will get you in the room,
Hmm.
okay?
Hmm.
But your mindset is what determines how you show up and how you progress
Hmm.
in that room. So that was the third piece of advice
Yeah.
that I wanted to give.
No, that's powerful. And as we get ready to wind down this segment, I saw your mantra on your website, which is anything is possible when you believe. Anything. So for those that's
Yes.
listening, those that's watching, those that's going to share the link, share it with someone that may need this reminder that anything is possible, right? Anything is possible. And if you want to continue to hear the voice of Miss Lesa, I saw also, yes, I was all through your website. You have your own podcast show as well.
I
So,
do. I do.
Balance for Women in Real Estate. Talk about your podcast show.
So my podcast, I just launched it September of last year. So I'm coming up on 1 year. I can't believe that
Mhm.
podcast was on my vision board for 2 years. And God was like, Lesa, it's time. So I released it September of 2024.
Mhm.
And I'm talking about balance. I'm talking about what we talked about here today. The main things I talk about are mindset, time management, work
Mhm.
life balance, avoiding burnout,
Yeah.
just creating that sustainable, profitable business that is in alignment with what it is you want for your life,
Yeah.
where you're not sacrificing yourself or your relationships in your life. So I release it every Wednesday.
Mhm.
Um, so I would love for your audience to tune in to that as well.
Absolutely. Again, you can find her podcast show. The name of the show is Balance for Women in Real Estate. Now, if someone wanted to connect with you for your services, what would be the best way?
My website, which you found,
Mhm.
is is where you can find me. My podcast, there's always my podcast is going to direct you back to the website as well.
Mhm.
I'm also on LinkedIn, and I'm sure you'll drop all the links in the show
Yes.
notes.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's the best way. And for anyone that's ready to create that sustainable, peaceful business without sacrificing themselves, I do offer a complimentary 60-minute consultation where we'll take a look at what's currently working for you, what's getting in the way or draining your energy, and how we can help you to move forward and create the business and the life that you actually desire.
Absolutely. And for all of our listeners and viewers, we thank you so much. As we get ready to wind down, we know we are in the month of August. Fourth quarter is going to be here before we know it. And I know some of you see that little emblem in the top in the corner saying Unlock 2027. Yes, for those that was a part of our business conference this year, it was phenomenal. But next year we're going to a whole nother level. So make sure you lock in Saturday, April 17th 2027, we're going to be at the BWI Marriott Hotel for Unlock 2027 Business Conference. Stay plugged to our website for more information. And with that being said, we're going to see everybody at the top. Bye.
Take care.